until a warrior shaman received a vision from the Panther Goddess Bast. Warrior became king and the first Black Panther, the protector of Wakanda.
T'Challa never came first. That is the line Marvel quietly dropped into the comics back in 2017, and most people completely missed it. Because before T'Challa, before his father T'Chaka, before Azuri in World War II, and even before Bashenga, the man who was long believed to be the very first Black Panther, there was a warrior named Mosi, a man who lived 1 million years before any of us, a man who picked up Thor's hammer before Thor was even born, a man whose death is the direct reason Wakanda locked its doors to the world for thousands of years. This is his story, and the story of the most powerful team of heroes that ever existed in the entire Marvel Universe. This is not fan fiction. This is not a theory. This is canon from the Marvel Comics, specifically from Jason Aaron's legendary Avengers run, first introduced in Marvel Legacy #1 in 2017, then expanded in issues of the main Avengers series, and fully detailed in the one-shot Avengers 1 million BC #1, which dropped in 2022. Mosi's full origin was also fleshed out in the Wakanda #1 series that same year, so everything you are about to hear is straight from the source material. You have to understand what the world looked like 1 million years ago in the Marvel Universe. Humans were barely getting started. There were no cities, no kingdoms, no governments. People lived in small tribes and spent most of their time just trying to survive. The strongest thing on Earth was not any human. It was the raw, untamed power of the universe itself. Cosmic forces, ancient gods, and primordial energies that humans had no way of understanding, let alone controlling. And then a meteor hit. That meteor crashed into what would eventually become the nation of Wakanda, and it carried something extraordinary inside it: vibranium. The same metal that would one day make Wakanda the most advanced nation on Earth, forge Captain America's shield, and be worth more than almost any other substance in existence. When that meteor landed, it did not just bring metal. It brought cosmic energy from the Vega system, and that energy started doing strange things to the land and the people living near it. It opened rifts through space. It brought alien creatures like the Brood into the area. The land was becoming a doorway to other parts of the universe, and that was not a good thing. The tribe living nearest to this meteor was the Panther Tribe, and the leader of the Panther Tribe was Mosi. Mosi was not a random warrior. He was the chief of his people. And by every account in the comics, he was one of the most naturally intelligent humans alive on Earth at that time. Odin himself, the king of Asgard, the All-Father, a literal god, would later say that he had not been impressed by a mortal before or since he met Mosi. That is not a small thing to say about a caveman. Odin has met everyone. He has seen everything. And this prehistoric African warrior stopped him cold. Now, here is something you need to know about the heart-shaped herb, which is what gives the Black Panther their powers. Mosi was not the first person from the Panther tribe to eat it. Other members of his tribe had tried before him. They all died. The herb was lethal unless the Panther Goddess Bast chose to bless you with her favor. And Bast, for all the warriors who came before Mosi, had looked at them and said no. But when Mosi consumed the herb, Bast showed up. She sent her animal avatars to aid him through the process. He survived, and the power of the heart-shaped herb transformed him into something the world had never seen, the very first Black Panther. Enhanced strength, heightened senses, physical capabilities that no normal human could match. This was around 1 million years before the Common Era. And then things got even more interesting. Odin Borson, the ruler of Asgard, who showed up in the land of the Panther Tribe carrying Mjolnir, his legendary hammer, the weapon that only the worthy could lift. And then Mosi picked up Mjolnir. In the entire history of Marvel Comics, the list of people who have ever lifted that hammer is extremely short. Thor, obviously, Captain America in the MCU and later in the comics, a handful of others across thousands of years of stories. But Mosi, a human warrior from prehistoric Africa, 1 million years before Thor was even born, was the first person after Odin himself to lift and wield that hammer. Now let me introduce you to the rest of this team, because this is where things get genuinely wild. The team was put together by a woman named Firehair, and she was also one of the most important characters in the entire history of the Marvel Universe. She is the very first human host of the Phoenix Force. The Phoenix Force is one of the most powerful cosmic entities in all of Marvel. If you know Jean Grey from the X-Men, you know what it can do. Firehair was the original, the first. The reason the Phoenix Force has always had a preference for red-haired telepathic women going forward is because of Firehair. Her consciousness inside the Phoenix essentially shaped its preferences for every future host. But Firehair was smart enough to know that she was dangerous. She had almost burned the planet down from the inside out when the Phoenix first bonded with her. So she made a choice. Instead of becoming a threat, she was going to build a shield around the Earth. She was going to put together a team of the most powerful beings alive to protect humanity from threats it could not handle on its own. She approached Odin first. Odin, to his credit, agreed, and together they started recruiting. Odin and Firehair brought in Agamotto, not Doctor Strange, but the person Doctor Strange's entire mythology is built on. Agamotto was the first Sorcerer Supreme of Earth, a demigod sorcerer of terrifying power. The Eye of Agamotto that Doctor Strange wears around his neck is literally named after this man. They brought in Ghost, the first Ghost Rider, not a motorcycle rider, but a young early human who was possessed by a spirit of vengeance and rode atop a flaming mammoth. They brought in Fan Fei, the first Iron Fist. Fan Fei was a warrior from the ancient city of Kunlun who had done the impossible. She killed Shou-Lao, the Undying, the dragon whose power creates the Iron Fist. They brought in the first Starbrand. The Starbrand is a planetary defense system in Marvel, a cosmic power that attaches to a living being and turns them into a weapon-grade protector of the Earth. And then there was Mosi, the Black Panther. The man already chosen by a god, already proven worthy of Mjolnir, already defending his people against alien creatures falling through cosmic rifts. This was the team, the 1 million BC Avengers. They were Phoenix, Odin, Agamotto, Ghost Rider on a mammoth, Iron Fist, Starbrand, and Black Panther. Earth's first mightiest heroes. According to Odin's own account in the comics, this team saved the world more times than he could count. But the most significant thing they did together involved a celestial. One celestial, known as the Fallen, had been infected by a parasitic species called the Horde and had gone completely out of control. This is the same celestial whose death millions of years earlier had seeded the Earth with cosmic energy, leading to the existence of mutants, superhumans, and most of what makes the Marvel Universe what it is. Firehair hit the Fallen with flames hot enough to melt a supernova. It did not even flinch. This team threw everything they had at that being, and eventually they sealed it in an underground chamber beneath what would become modern-day South Africa. They also fought frost giants, deviants, servants of the moon god Khonshu, who was furious for years that his champion Moon Knight had not been invited to join. The 1 million BC Avengers at a point dealt with a time-traveling teenage Thanos and a time-lost Iron Man, who somehow ended up a million years in the past. The team was not always friendly with each other, by the way. Odin thought Agamotto was arrogant. The Starbrand and Ghost Rider could not stand each other. Odin never liked Fan Fei or anything about Kunlun, and Odin specifically was not fond of Mosi, and the comics tell us exactly why. Because Mosi was calm and intelligent, and Odin found those qualities annoying in a mortal. Now, let's go to the part of the story that hits the hardest. Everything fell apart because of Odin. King Laufey of Jotunheim, the Frost Giants, came looking for revenge. The reason he was angry was that Odin had previously killed Laufey's young son. That alone should tell you something about how reckless Odin could be. A child was dead because of him, and now Laufey arrived with a force that included Hive from the Negative Zone. Mosi died in that battle. The first Black Panther, the man who lifted Mjolnir, the man Odin himself, admitted he had never seen anything like died fighting in a war that started because of Odin's actions. When it was over, the Phoenix Force.Agamotto went to the Panther Tribe personally to offer her condolences. It was in this moment that Mosi's true name was finally spoken aloud by his people, revealing it to her. Before this, the team had only ever known him by his title, but the tribe wanted nothing to do with Firehair or any of the 1 million BC Avengers. So the tribe took his body back to their mountain of vibranium and they closed the door. They told the world to forget they ever existed. That decision became the founding philosophy of Wakanda. Thousands of years later, when Bashenga united the tribes and built the kingdom, the policy of isolation was already deeply embedded in the culture. After Mosi's death, Firehair rejected Odin. Actually, it got even messier than that. Odin, in one of his worst moments, called the team together afterward and surprised Firehair with an announced wedding. He had decided they were going to get married immediately, without ever actually asking her. Firehair was disgusted. She left. She left Asgard, she left Earth, and she said she was never coming back. The team was finished. But the story was not over. Sometime later, Odin had a child with the Earth goddess Gaia. That child was Thor. On the day Thor was born, Laufey showed up and killed him. But Firehair, despite having said she was never coming back, came back. She resurrected Thor and infused him with some of the Phoenix's life energy. Gaia declared her Thor's second mother. That is why, in the deepest Marvel lore, Thor has a connection to the Phoenix Force. The team that had fallen apart got one final reunion many years later when the modern-day Avengers and the 1 million BC Avengers joined forces to fight Mephisto and his multiversal masters of evil. That conflict cost them heavily. Starbrand died, Ghost Rider sacrificed himself, Agamotto was blinded, Firehair sacrificed herself to restore universes that had been destroyed. Her essence was preserved inside the white-hot room with every other Phoenix avatar who had ever lived. If you did not know who Mosi was before watching this, now you do. And if you want more deep dives into Marvel stories and characters that do not always get the spotlight they deserve, subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss one. Drop a comment below telling us which member of the 1 million BC Avengers you think was the most powerful. See you in my next video.